Yo, yo. What's everyone? Welcome to the Good Price Show. Today we have Z from Magic Eden. We're really, really lucky to have him. How are you doing, Z?
Yo, what's up, fellas? Super good to be here. It's uh,
Yeah.
it's an honor to be on the Good Price Show, man.
We started this podcast talking to degens and other NFT traders and project founders, and now we have one of the co-founders of one of the biggest companies on Solana and a multi-billion-dollar startup. So we're leveling up, Iced.
Yeah. No, but let's the entirety of the podcast is probably going to be centered around like Magic Eden. Um, so do you want to get into how like Magic Eden's first, I guess, how you guys came up with the idea, like the first concept, and why you saw an opportunity on Solana?
Yeah, for sure. I can share a bit of background on sort of the original like founding story as well, and some of the guys. So I don't know if maybe some people don't know, but so there's four founders of Magic Eden. There's myself, Jack, Sid, and Rex. And we kind of got together around the middle of last year, um, when NFTs in general were kind of popping off, and it was sort of a confluence of a bunch of different factors. But so I was working at Coinbase at the time. I was a product manager at Coinbase. Jack was at FTX, and he had an amazing bird's eye view into the Solana ecosystem. And then Sid and Rex were engineers at Facebook and previously Uber. So, um, around that time, like clearly DeFi was really popping off on Solana, and we'd just gone through sort of whatever 6 9 months of DeFi summer, and we kind of were feeling quite strongly that, man, if there's like so many interesting projects and people that are coming into the ecosystem, we were like, I wonder if there's like an OpenSea of Solana. Like, I wonder if there's a really big marketplace that is supporting all of this growth. And we started using some of the products, and yeah, generally felt that like they weren't doing justice to what we thought would be a pretty vibrant, or what should be a pretty vibrant ecosystem into the future.
Mhm.
So that was kind of the genesis of why we wanted to do something. Like, we were really excited about the Solana ecosystem, and we have this sort of thesis in our head that experimentation cost is low on Solana because things are pretty cheap to transact, and that just will attract a lot more creators and users to come and do things. And if that's true, then you need a marketplace, and you need a whole bunch of infrastructure that can support some of these use cases. So we felt that like we had the perfect backgrounds to come and do this. So Jack and I, coming from exchange backgrounds, we've spent the last many years just thinking about liquidity and how to build supply and demand side dynamics. And before Coinbase, I was at DYDX too, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about exchanges. And then Sid and Rex built one of the largest consumer marketplaces in the world in Uber Eats. Right, they were some of the earliest engineers there. So we just felt that this was the right team to take on this problem.
Wow,
Damn,
that's
that's a
that's a crazy
hell
story,
of a
man. I
resume.
think it's a all-star team, and you guys were bringing all the right skill set and then the right vision to actually like see there was a movement forming. It's interesting how the times have changed. Like DeFi is probably shifted in a little bit into the background, and NFTs are at the forefront of Solana. So you guys are extremely well placed for that. And I guess like what were the kind of some of the key challenges as you guys started to, you know, undertake this? It's obviously a monumental task from a technical standpoint. Kind of what was there ever moments where you guys were like, I mean, this is like crazy hard, or is it worth it?
Yeah, it's been a really wild journey, and yeah, I'll sort of like lift open the hood a little bit here in that a lot of the challenges I think have just been around just scaling in an extremely short amount of time, uh, but have necessitated a very, very large amount of I think what companies typically go through over a course of 2 3 years, we've gone through in sort of a 6 month period. And like, with that comes a lot of challenges and problems. And I remember in the early days, like maybe 1 month in, Um, I think at the time Sid was paying for all of our like SaaS bills, like all of our like SaaS vendors, cloud infrastructure, all that stuff. And it became clear that we were getting calls from all these providers saying like, you guys have to upgrade to enterprise. And we were like, yo, we can't afford that stuff. We're like 3 weeks into this company. There's a lot of little stories like that where like at the time it just felt really unbelievable that this was happening. But yeah, these are real challenges, and I think you guys and the market has definitely seen that there's been a couple of periods where we've had like pretty hard reliability problems. Once in around January, and then just like the last couple of weeks, we've been battling just infra as our traffic has spiked, sometimes 10, 20x. That's definitely been a challenge. And I think, I don't know, like marketplaces in general, I feel like are unique because they're not only technical problems, but it's also like a lot of operational overhead that comes with it. And this may be just something that's quite specific to Magic Eden because we are extremely grassroots oriented. We actually have a lot of people in the company that work either in operations or BD and are extremely sort of grassroots, on the ground, like NFT, like real NFT people, like degens, and we're really proud of that actually as a company. Like I think I don't know the exact number, but it's something like a little under a third of the company we've hired directly from the community. So it's either NFT creators or it's people that we've worked with and met on Discords, and like that has proven to be something that's been quite successful for us. So scaling the team, managing the team has been definitely a challenge as we've grown. But dude, man, like I think all these challenges are sort of, when stepping back, you kind of look at it and they're good problems to have, and we're actually feel pretty privileged and lucky that we get to work on this stuff, and it's really definitely hard, but it's also been an amazing journey, and like we're here to serve the NFT ecosystem. It's sort of our number one goal.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I had a question, I guess, pertains to the early stages of Magic Eden. So at the time, you guys didn't have much of the market share of the Solana NFT ecosystem, right? There were a few other marketplaces at the time, and they had, I think, a majority of the market share. But then here comes Magic Eden. I think it was like September, October time, right?
Yeah, it was. I think we shipped our first really janky version of the product. I think September 17th was the day.
Mm. Yeah, I remember because you guys were so fast to list things, like however the application process was, so people would start trading them there. Um, like I remember I don't know, like there was a Cryptodes derivative, and they were going like whatever, and that was like the first time I traded on Magic Eden because they were like a really small mint, and they were going to like 1, 2, 3 Sol, and Sol was like $200. So that was like the first. They were only listed on Magic Eden too, so that was the first time I ever used it. I think it was in September, October time. So that's like my earliest memory of it. But when you first launched Magic Eden, right, you didn't have that market share. So what do you think contributed to Magic Eden, like obviously getting that overwhelming amount of market share?
Yeah, I think we get this question a lot, and I I think it's definitely not like a silver bullet kind of answer where it's like, oh, we did this one thing and our market
Right.
share shot up, 50% or whatever. I'd say it's a combination of a lot of little things that we executed on really well. And so I'll give you some examples. Like one was definitely, like you mentioned it yourself, listing quickly. And I think at the time we were sort of noticing that, oh, why do projects, like why can't you trade projects immediately after a mint? And sometimes it would take hours. And projects were often feeling quite frustrated that their stuff wasn't being listed on the other marketplaces. So we actually invested a lot in the early days around operational tooling to make that happen, because we were like, that's a pain point for creators. Let's fix that. So we actually spent a lot of time thinking about that in the early days. Another one I think was that we made our marketplace, like the UI and the experience, really oriented around discovery and especially discovery of the new stuff. To your point, Heist, right? It's like, hey, like what of the cool shit that's happening today. Let me know what that is and tell me what are the new collections that are dropping. And we really focus hard on that because there's just so much, as you guys know, there's just so much stuff coming out, and a lot of what people want is they want signals. They want to understand what the new fresh content or new fresh mint is. So we spent a lot of time around that with our UI. And then I think the third thing is that we were just out there a lot. We weren't afraid to be talking to everyone at the really ground level, right?
Yeah, I think
The first person we hired was Chafu Monkey, right? And that actually set the tone for what we wanted to be like as a company.
yeah, I think Magic Eden was very involved, right? They were very willing to listen. Even now, right? Like everybody loves the Magic Eden intern that runs the Twitter, and then obviously Tiff who comes on Spaces. Um,
Shout out
and
to the intern, man.
yeah,
Shout out to
shout
the
out to the
intern.
intern. So she's always and Tiff is always more than willing to get on Spaces, address a topic, and do like almost like PR management. Um,
Yeah.
so I think
I
it's really really important because like having that transparency, it shows. I think a lot of people appreciate that and are happy to trust Magic Eden. Um, and it feels like you guys have the user's best interest. And obviously you guys are a company. You're obviously a for-profit company, and people are like, wow, like why are they? I don't know, like the whole deal with like the immediate listing thing, and people were like, oh, Magic Eden's greedy. I'm like, I promise you, they don't need the extra 500 soul. Right? They really don't. Like, people get so hung up on stuff like that. Like it's
yeah.
like Magic Eden's done, 100K, 200K, 300K, even almost 400K in daily volume for the past like month and a half. So I don't think that extra 2% from the first 2,000 soul are really what's breaking the camel's back. So I think people sometimes can get a bit ridiculous in their claims, but I think it's also, like I said, important for you guys to get on Spaces, to be relatable, to be understanding, and listen to the community when they ask something.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's something we think is really important, and yeah, I think like it's the now like whenever I think we've learned our lesson. Like I really think that what's made us successful to where we are today is, man, we've definitely eaten some glass along the way. Right? We went through
Yeah.
Balloonsville. There was a whole derivatives drama in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's just any time the meta is changing, the sort of market dynamics and structure also changes, and we just have to adapt to that. And sometimes, yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot. I think offline, like the three of us, right? You guys have been sort of good friends of Magic Eden, and you can never please everyone. But I think we do have like fundamental principles that we hope are moving the ecosystem in the right direction. But yeah, sometimes it's hard. You can't please everyone always.
Absolutely, man. I think you guys are great stewards of Solana NFTs, to be honest. I really mean it. There's a lot of other companies that are, here for the wrong reasons. And they, are kind of culture vultures in the sense that like they kind of hijack the DGen and the WAGMI vibes and everything to kind of say like, oh, we're one of you guys and, to position that way. But I do really feel that Magic Eden is like a DGen first company, which is pretty rare these days because it's kind of like the people with the skill set to build one of these platforms and marketplaces is going to have to come from basically a Web2 company or a very like cutting edge innovative Web3 company, right? So how do you attract that skill set while retaining the Web3 native culture is a unique challenge, and I think it's one that you guys are doing well. But I guess my next question is around, Solana and, kind of where you see it heading. I mean, for anybody who's looked at the all-time volume on OpenSea versus Magic Eden, obviously they have a huge head start on you guys of several years, which in NFT history is like several decades. But I think I don't have the exact numbers, but Magic Eden has done just a few percent of OpenSea all time. So to say we're early is a bit of an understatement. Like we're beyond early. So how do you see kind of Solana NFTs, evolving over time, and how do you see that kind of status quo being disrupted?
Yeah, really good question. No, for sure, we are extremely early, and it's yeah, we really feel it every day. But it also means the opportunity is just enormous, and that gets us just amped to get going every day. Yeah, so I think the way the industry is going is we've seen some really interesting, I think, NFTs that have been being explored on Solana, and I think that's probably my view is that trend will continue. In that innovation is more likely to happen on a place like Solana than Ether One. That's sort of the fundamental reason that we started on Solana in the first place. We just felt that this chain could support some of these new use cases, and the one obviously that we've been very public about that we're really excited about is gaming NFTs, which we do roughly like 90% of the volume, and we launch most of the gaming projects on Solana via our launchpad. And that in itself is what we think will be a massive category. And don't get me wrong either. Like I think PFPs are not going anywhere because PFPs are effectively, it's number one, it's sort of the bedrock. Number two, it communities generally love PFP collections, and it's a proven way to for someone who's doing something for the first time with NFTs to actually do something that has what we consider in traditional sense like product market fit, right? Like people really like it, and I don't think it's going anywhere. Actually, it seems silly to the outside of it. In general, people love PFP collections, and I think we're starting to see like definitely more of a transition from ETH creators who are willing to do things on Solana. And frankly, that's like a pretty big milestone in my opinion. I think, Solana has had to fight through this whole notion of like, oh, this is a, poor chain, there's a derivatives chain, like all this rubbish, right? But the reality is this is where the action is right now. And we're seeing more and more creators approaching Magic Eden to experiment with doing something on ME with Solana. And then over the next few years, I think we're really excited about just new use cases. So gaming is still very early, and anyone who's been following has been able to see Steppin's just absolutely explosive growth. And these are games that don't yet have really good gameplay, but have really interesting Web3 native game mechanics, right? And we're excited about that. And there's a lot more coming online. And what that means for us is it means that we have to orient our product in different ways. So discoverability has to change, and underlying infra has to change to support these use cases. And then there's other ones that we are pretty excited about that are still very, very early, like even earlier. But we are seeing a lot of teams start to experiment with different, things around music or ticketing or, just token gated content in general. And, hopefully that this is a trend that continues. I think one of the metas right now is there's a lot of tooling plays, people launching NFTs that give you access to a particular tool, which is kind of interesting. It's like almost, if you play this out and this becomes successful in some way, it replaces the traditional SaaS model, right? It's like just a different way for teams to build tools and infra and get paid for it in a different way to how we think about it traditionally, which is like a subscription. So I think that's really cool too. There's a bunch of teams that have done that, and we've supported a bunch of those on Magic Eden. So this sort of like vibrancy and experimentation is something I think is really real. And we, at least from my knowledge, like you don't really see this all that much on somewhere like Ethereum today. Hopefully that chain scales, and I think that would be important for the general like overall NFT ecosystem. But I think, in the meantime, it feels like, yeah, a lot of the excitement, experimentation is happening here. So no, we're just super stoked to be able to support it.
Yeah, no, that's super, super awesome. So you touched on like ETH creators coming over to Solana. Do you ever think Magic Eden will implement Ethereum NFTs?
Oh man, make me put me on the spot and make me leak the alpha. Is that what's
No,
happening here?
because it kind of makes sense, like there obviously is that portion to capture, and there's obviously OpenSea and LooksRare, and then a few other platforms I think as well, but mainly those two. But I think it maybe would make sense. I don't know. From what do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Iced and Legend think it's a good idea, then maybe Magic Eden will get it done. Um, no,
The
I mean,
teams
yeah,
are
dude. Sorry, go ahead, Legend.
Yeah, the teams are pretty complacent on ETH. Like, no disrespect, but I mean, you guys can go toe to toe on product with anyone, and I think like if anything, time has shown that they're pretty comfy over there. Coinbase took like 8 months to ship ETH NFTs and got like 1,300 users or whatever, and OpenSea has taken forever to ship Solana. So I think these guys are getting fat on fees and royalties, and they're kind of like getting a bit complacent, to be honest.
Mm. No, I think the way we think about this is basically we've always had the principle of we'll go where the users are, and users for us are like obviously the degens, the traders, the collectors, but also the creators, right? And um, that's true. We'll follow that, and ultimately on a long enough time horizon, none of this stuff will be like no one will think about the stuff as ETH NFTs or Sol NFTs. Like we really think about things as like the actual categories of NFTs, so like PFPs or games. And the reason we think about it like that is because the actual end user, the person who's going to buy the NFT, doesn't truly care. I really believe that they really just want, they just want the PFP, and um, the users on different chains will end up converging, right? And we're seeing that live right now with quite recently since OK Bears, a lot of ETH native um, PFP traders are now doing the same thing on Solana. It's actually just the one market. So if that's true, then yeah, I think it's possible and very very plausible that Magic Eden will want to support effectively wherever the users are. We should be there actually, and we want to be able to deliver the quality product, community experience, creator experience, no matter where users are going to be. So, yeah, man, dude. But seriously, it's crazy to think how early we are still. So, it's almost really hard to say where exactly, like across L1s, L2s, side chains. There's a lot going on. So I think number one focus right now is just look, we we are in a really fortunate position to support the best creators to come and build stuff on Solana. That's like our focus right now, and but yeah, fundamentally we want to serve wherever the users are. So it could be possible down the line.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you're making, where you're going to go where the users are, right? Because that just shows that you're trying to be relevant, and relevancy over like pretty much anything else is really, really important. Because if nobody uses the platform, I mean, it doesn't matter how good the platform is, right? So I think that's really, really smart of you to say. Um, but yeah, how do you think creators that come over from, let's say, Ethereum or other chains, they come over to Solana? Um, do you think that they have a better experience on Solana than on their previous chains they do their work on?
Yeah, it's a good question. Um, I like to think that's true, but I there's also so much that goes into that experience as a creator, right? It's a incredibly stressful period of time preparing for a lot. Like for example, we just had the OK Bears. in our office in San Francisco yesterday, and we we were just kind of catching up on their journey. And these guys were building for 6 months, right? And then you build for such a long time. Blood, sweat, and tears go into this, and then everything sort of culminates in like a single like 3 hour period on a day, right? It's crazy. It's actually a really insane, stressful moment for them. But I think that's sort of the the thing that we want to help with, and my hope is that the product that we can provide and the community that we have on Solana is actually one that's hopefully very welcoming. Number one, two, we provide the best tooling, so it's just easier from a technical standpoint to do the things that they want to do. And I think a lot of the ETH creators that are coming across, and we tell them about something like Launchpad, they're usually pretty amazed. They're like, "Wow, that seems really easy. How? why? Why is this not a thing? And how do we get started to use it?" Right? And that's the sort of reaction that we want. So I think overall, the experience is really good. And I think the creators that, and maybe some will be out there listening, if you are thinking about doing something on Solana and Magic Eden, yeah, seriously, check it out. I really think that you'll be pleasantly surprised by how simple it is to try things out and how welcome the community will be. And, this is a huge focus for ours right now. It's how do we, how do we help with some of this education process, and then the actual nuts and bolts of a launch, right? Such that once they are interested, let's make it super easy for them, and that's where we come in. So now we're pretty excited about it, and hopefully there's more to come. At least our BD team has been hard at work, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Honestly, I think you guys are definitely thinking along the right lines because the first time I ever used Magic Eden was for the stylish studs, like photo finish game horses. And I think what started out as like a snappy exchange that just works is now like more of like a town square for NFTs on Solana, right? For new users, they can go to Magic Eden and, read about like how-to articles on how to set up a Phantom wallet or, anything else. There's education. And I think you guys are already evolving to be more educators and more, plugged in and kind of at the center of everything NFTs on Sol, right? I think, as the competitive landscape evolves, marketplaces that are simply offering, buy, sell, and offers are going to kind of be left behind a little bit. And, how do you feel about maybe 3 years from now when there's maybe like a social media element to this or gamification or something like that?
Dude, I actually think it's pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw, like, last week or 10 days ago, we had a couple of launch pads on Magic Eden. So Trippin' Apes and Cursed Souls, where I don't know if you guys saw it, but we had live chat. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, we did. And I think live chat is the next level of interactivity, right? And incentivization. I mean, I often like use the example of likes on Facebook, right? They're essentially fake internet points, but there's so much psychology and incentives that are baked into that, right? Like who doesn't want to be liked? And how much has the like button done for Facebook as a platform? It's probably
Mm,
impossible to quantify.
yeah, big time, big time. No, dude, I really think that if if we are successful over whatever a long time horizon, yeah, I really think that the pure commerce layer style marketplaces, it's going to look really different from that. And that really in my head is that's the traditional archetype Web2 marketplace, right? It's like here are a bunch of goods, here's a bunch of buyers, here is some commerce layer where you can make the transaction happen, right? Some payment layer. And that's also where sort of most of the marketplaces in crypto are today as well. And I think if we are truly successful, yeah, the town hall analogy is really apt. It's like you come here, you discover stuff, you can buy and sell things, you can like hang out with people. That's effectively what we're doing with NFTs, right? Um, it's you meet people in communities and you have your little alpha groups and you're interacting with people all day. And that sort of stuff is is really cool. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think those behaviors are absolutely true today. So yeah, I think it could be really interesting. We're excited to think about it. There's a long way to go before we get there, but and I don't even know if that will be a thing. But today that yeah, is that true? Like, are people doing that? Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty cool to think about. And our way of experimenting with that is like, yeah, doing the live chat for Launchpad, right? And that's just one way of experimenting with it. I think for Trip and Apes, we had 9,000 people in the live chat concurrently, which is crazy for a feature that we didn't announce it. It was very much a soft launch, um, and you know, clearly, clearly, it's sort of an exciting moment, right? That users wanted to be there and feel that and experience that whole launchpad together. So it's cool. Something we'll continue to tinker with, but yeah, nothing sort of like super concrete in the short term here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Pivoting in a little bit of another direction, I kind of want to ask you what you think Magic Eden looks like, let's say in a year's time. And if there's certain like bullet points that you guys want to hit, certain milestones or things you want to implement into your product within the next year, or is it more like reactionary and based on market sentiment and like community reaction?
No, I mean I think we have some really big goals as a company. Um, yeah, obviously it is sort of two-way, right? In that no one knows what crypto markets are going to do. And I've been through this, a couple of times now. Like when I first joined DYDX as the second employee, we were just coming out of a massive bull run, going into a sort of 2 year bear market where just the hardcore people were building DeFi stuff. So you can never guess what Mr. Market's going to do. But regardless of that, I think it doesn't really change the stuff that we want to work on, right? And we have some pretty huge, you know, fundamental things that we want to do. So number one is, yeah, category expansion, right? So I think you expect to see a lot more from Magic Eden around Web3 games. That's number one, and then that's something that regardless of what's happening externally, we're going to invest in that category. Number two is I think we want to continue to invest in um, the entire sort of end to end marketplace experience, and that's both at like a feature level, but also at a kind of a platform level. So, as an example, I think there's probably a bunch of our users that use Magic Eden's mobile app every day, and I really believe that NFTs are a very mobile native experience. So that's an area that we want to continue to invest in pretty significantly over the next year or so. Um, and then I think the third thing is is really expanding the the sort of end to end creator experience, right? And today, if you think about it, Launchpad is really just one moment in time, right? It's almost like the last mile of a creator's launch. Um, so there's a lot more that I think we can offer around, pre-launch, post-launch to really help the creator from like a support standpoint, engagement standpoint, interaction with their community standpoint. There's a lot of cool things we can start to do there. Um, and then, our overall vision, I think, is we want to be the homepage of NFTs. Um, that's like the, long term, yeah, long term, like, huge goal for us. And that's broad. It's intentionally very broad because, you know, I think we would all probably agree that it's impossible to tell the directions that all this stuff is going to. But if this is a a a technology or asset class, whatever you want to call it, that's going to become huge, then we effectively want to be synonymous with it, right? In the same way that I think you look at fungible tokens, everyone kind of thought that like they would all just die out, and there would just be probably like Bitcoin and Ethereum or something, right? But the reality was fundable tokens became, multi-trillion-dollar market, right? And out of that, there were multi, decacorns that were built to support that particular industry or category. I really think the same is true, if not like even more true for NFTs, because NFTs can apply to literally anything. And if, quote unquote, if we had a homepage, sounds a little bit silly, but if we had a homepage of that, then we'll be in a really good place. And that's the long-term vision. So, yeah, tons to build, man. Like, I think whatever happens in the market, where sort of our roadmap is unchanged and we're hiring, and yeah, team is just really excited to work on all this stuff.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, man. I think like um, the whole idea of NFTs is pretty mind blowing, just because I read an article the other day from Chris Dixon called "The Next Big Thing Will Start Out Looking Like a Toy," and he goes into disruptive technologies and how some of the biggest innovations of the last 100 200 years, whether it's the telephone, internet, whatever, started out as like a little gimmicky thing, call your friend a mile away. And, it caused people to vastly underestimate the impact of these technologies, just because, basically, like, users' needs will, the technology will very quickly overshoot the user's needs. So what, for example, in NFTs begins as PFPs and pictures of apes and donkeys and dogs will eventually be, something that's completely integrated into our lives, and we're not even aware of it, right? So I think you're absolutely right on the homepage of NFTs thing.
Yeah, for sure. What are you guys excited about? Like, I mean, you guys are as deep, if not deeper than we are. So I'm curious how you guys think about where this stuff is going, and what's the most exciting thing that you guys have in mind for the next 12 months?
I think going to events and having bigger events, especially at like the more broad events. Like I know we have the hacker houses, and that's obviously geared towards Solana. But like especially things like NFT NYC, I think if there's a big Solana NFT presence, and I know like Tiff touched on this, and she was like, "Yeah, Magic Eden's gonna have a yacht party," and that's super super cool. And if that's obviously successful and a lot of people show up and a lot of people have a good time, I think it'll encourage people, especially if like there's like a trailer teaser video, if there's like a videographer there or something that like records like snippets of it and just like showing everyone having a good time. I think people will catch FOMO and be at the next few events. But having that presence at that event, I think will bring a lot of legitimacy. And people will start to take it more serious, because there are people on Ethereum that are still too stubborn. They're like, they see OK Bears, they see DGods, they see, let's say, SMBs or any other Solana NFT, and they're like, oh no, I don't believe in the chain. Like, it goes down every other day. Like, why would I want to buy NFTs on that chain? Ethereum is decentralized. Ethereum is, number one, whatever. So there definitely is some people who are still too stubborn to be like, you know what, maybe I'll dabble in Solana NFTs, as if it's like fire,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the event is what I'm excited about.
Ice, you're just nominating Tiff and her team for more work. I love that.
Ice is like more parties. That's what I want, dude.
Yeah, I think that's like the next step. I don't know. I haven't been to an event, so and like every time everybody comes back from an event, they're like, "Oh yeah, it was the best thing ever. Like I had so much fun, met so many great people, made all those connections, and like I can't wait to go back." So I'm hoping my first event will have a similar experience.
Oh, dude, Ice, you know that yacht party is just for you, right?
I hope so, dude. I really hope so. I was telling Tiff, I'm like, we got to put the ice pepes, and we got to have an Easter egg of like have them all over the yacht.
We're gonna create a little section for you and the intern just to keep flirting, since that's all you do on Twitter anyway.
All right, yeah. No, I wouldn't mind. I
Ice
wouldn't
is
mind.
Ice is literally sustaining the vibes on the Solana chain single handed. Between him and the Magic Eden intern, they can carry us through this whole bear market, guys. No,
I mean,
but
yeah, as long as everyone's happy, I think, and having a good time, I think that's the most important thing.
no, it really is. I think that's a great point. Like these NFTs have to be fun, right? Fundamentally, people, wake up every day. They have a choice of what they can do with their time, and if they are coming back day after day and having good time on Solana and good time trading Solana NFTs, I think the battle's already won because who doesn't want to have fun and who doesn't want to, you know, trade NFTs with their friends? I think this is a light bulb moment that I'm looking forward to most just globally, like NFT widespread adoption and, really like thinking of NFTs as more of, you know, proof of ownership in a permissionless internet, right? And businesses and people all around the world realizing NFT tech can be applied to their business and, real assets can be moved on chain, real life experiences and real talents can be moved on chain. And I think that's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah, amazing, man. 100% agree.
Yeah. Why don't we get into the Magic Eden team itself? And I know, like, I remember a few months ago you had like a whole. I don't know if you still have the applications open for like hiring certain positions, but how big is the Magic Eden team right now? And like, I guess take me through like where you started and how big the team was initially, and then how you've grown to now, and if you're still hiring at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'll sort of start around the beginnings. So I'd consider sort of the original like core, call it founding team was, the four founders obviously, and then um, Katie, Bell, Chart Monkey, and Tiff. That was sort of the original squad, basically leading up to um, around Solana Breakpoint in Lisbon. So we were like around 10 people or so when we got to Solana Breakpoint last year. And then since then we've we've effectively hired around 80 people. So I want to say we're around 90 or so right now, full time. And the way that we organize is there's effectively like the founders, and then we have like effectively like set up now like some pretty core functions in the company. So Tiff obviously leads marketing and PR and content, events, and we have Mike who leads all of our operations teams, and then Matt who leads basically all of our BD Launchpad, and Logan who leads partnerships, and then obviously we have a large engineering team um, of around, yeah, I don't know what the exact number is now, but yeah, pretty large engineering team. And yeah, we are like hiring pretty pretty consistently. So we haven't slowed down in hiring, even now. And I think the reason is, um, yeah, even though we're a startup and we're pretty young as a company, um, you know, we're in a really good position. So we're very fortunate to be in a really good position. Um, and we're pretty much hiring on all fronts. And I think, um, particularly obviously engineering, like engineers are always just in huge demand. But across many of our other teams as well, and all the business functions. So I lead all the business functions today. And one of the things that I think has been allowed us to be very successful from a recruiting standpoint over the past sort of 6 months, and even I think hopefully going forward, is that we have a really unique process in that we're pretty light on interviews, but we're really heavy on actually spending time with us as a company. So we do a 1 week work trial actually for anyone who joins the company, and they spend a week with us. We really embed them into the organization. We work with them on real stuff, and they get a really good sense and feel into what it's like to work at a crypto native company, right? And they get to feel the culture of NFTs if they are like a Web2 person. they get to feel the culture of the people. And that's a really important element because what will make us successful over time is we combine the best talent between Web 2 and Web 3. You can't just have, people coming in from, XYZ big name company who just doesn't get it, right? They have to spend time and be humble and get into the culture. That's really important. And so that's why we do the work trial. It's like both for them to get a sense of the team and the role and everything, but also to get into the culture. And as you guys know, once you get into the culture, it's really fun, right? People love it. So that's been a really successful method by which that we've attracted some of the really good talent that we have, and we're going to continue to do that. So yeah, hoping to grow the team pretty consistently over the next 6 months, regardless of what happens in the market. And yeah, if anyone's interested, just hit us up. We're actively talking to folks.
How does somebody, if somebody's interested, how do they apply or get your attention, or how do they go about it?
Yeah, so careers.magiceden.io is our careers page. So just drop an application in. My DMs are always open. Actually, all of the founders, all of our DMs are always open. So you guys can reach us anytime.
Slide into the
So
Magic Eden founders DMs.
You don't hear that every day, man.
I
I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna regret saying that, aren't I, guys?
Yeah, it might get I don't know, maybe not off this podcast, but eventually the DMs probably get a little too much.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's no, it's true. I'm very, we're all open books. So come and say hi. So Sid runs our eng team. He's our CTO. So engineers, hit him up. Sid's always shit posting anyway, so he's always on Twitter. And then so you can hit me up or Jack up or Rex up anytime as well. But no, we're actively hiring, so appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to shout out on this.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
man.
no, for sure. You're welcome pretty much any time. Yeah, Legend, do you have anything you wanted to follow up with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just like pretty impressed with the company overall. Like you guys in just a few months have taken the NFT scene by storm on Solana. And, I feel like Magic Eden has really differentiated themselves with the way you guys operate and your perception. I think like you guys are always going to be in the crosshairs regardless, just because so many people use your platform every day. And, the degens, they want free money and they want it yesterday, and they never want to, own up to the fact that like they're the ones pressing the buttons, and they kind of want their hand held. So it's a pretty tough job, the one you guys have of being in the crosshairs of all that. But I think you guys are handling it really well, and honestly, like I think Magic Eden has been instrumental to. Between Magic Eden and Phantom Wallet, these are two just, steadfast pillars of NFTs on Sol. And it's been a huge contributing factor, alongside the teams that are building. And of course, like the natural features of the chain itself, they're all coming together to create just a unique NFT trading experience that I think, many have enjoyed, and many millions more will be getting on in the next year or two.
No, man, really appreciate you saying that, man. It means a lot to us, and we don't take that position for granted. So we're working hard every day, and no, if anyone ever has feedback, we're always open to it. And no, it means a lot that you guys say that, truly, because I think when we first came into the ecosystem, you were the guys that we looked up to, right? Like, and we still do. We consider you guys like stewards of the ecosystem too. So it means a lot coming from you guys. So I really appreciate that.
No worries, man. I mean, we're kind of just like two guys that happen to be, earlier to Solana NFTs, but I don't think we're necessarily, I feel like people sometimes think like people with followers are entitled or whatever. I don't condone or think any of that. I'm just saying, like, I think having experience, or at least a relative experience in Solana, and seeing everything transpire from watching SMB's Mint to Aurori to DJ Apes, Bull Badgers, and then like, everything thereafter. from Candy Machine 1 and 2, and everything that pretty much transpired over the last almost year, I think gives a little bit of an edge, like a tiny bit. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like people with experience maybe would be a little bit better, or maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question on this actually?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's like reminisce a little bit, right? Because like I think people listening may not have been around the entire time. What's been your guys' favorite moment with Solana NFTs, and what's been like the most spicy, controversial moment over the last, whatever, 9, 10, 11 months where we've had an ecosystem?
I think, well, the best time for me, in my opinion, was probably the peak of the first Solana NFT bull run, where I think it was like end of October, early November. It was also when crypto peaked as well. I think Bitcoin at 69 and Ethereum at 48, and Solana at, I don't know if Solana made an all-time high at that point, but it was definitely over like 200. Maybe it was like somewhere between 200 and 260. Well, 260 would be the all-time high, but yeah. One or the other, I think that was like the peak. One sec. One sec. Sorry. My fucking iPad is like, dude, my iPad just like responding to me with Siri. Hold on. It bugs me out.
We're still early, guys. If we were that, like, if this was such an established industry, this would be a more professional podcast. There's still one wallet for every chain. Like, people are still talking about PFPs. We're still early, guys.
Yeah, Ice is getting distracted by Siri. That's
Dude.
Early vibes.
Dude, it just like started to make noises. I'm like, bro, who is talking right now? I got like scared. My bad. Yeah, so pretty much like the peak of crypto, because everything was at an all-time high and I was feeling euphoric. So that was like the best time for me. I wish I sold everything, like not everything, but majority of things, and was more responsible taking profits. And that's also something I feel like I can be more responsible, and other people can learn from going forward.
Yeah. For me,
yeah.
it was definitely after minting SMB, I put my life savings into monkeys, and we were in the Discord. I still remember we were trading them OTC. There was no marketplace, and I was just making friends in that Discord for those 2-3 weeks, and then everybody had kind of a dream and a kind of a vision of what this could be on Solana and first PFP, and kind of if Solana NFTs could even be a thing. And we were all kind of, talking about it, and, eventually over the next weeks and months, like it became true, right? And we saw, the SMB floor go up like 5 times in 1 week, and Solana up 4 times. And it's like a 20x in 1 week. And, I was working in investment banking at the time, and I realized like, I had made like, I think in unrealized gains, I'd probably made my salary plus bonus in like 1 day. And I was like, okay, this is a real thing, and this can actually change my life. And this is the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. And this is also like a legitimate, like, thing where I can put time into this and have fun. And it kind of set me free of the TradFi world. And that moment of getting just liberated from the grind at an investment bank to be able to work on NFTs full time was like one of the best moments in my life.
Oh, it's amazing. It's wild to think about those days, man. It's
yeah, we've
it's
come
so
a long
cool
way
as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
Landscape has changed. We made a lot more noise, lots more volume. The only thing that's down is Solana itself. The price and the network.
The guys are working on it. It's good. We'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be
No,
good.
but yeah, we appreciate you coming on a lot, dude. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, of course. Thanks so much for having me, seriously. And yeah, super super thankful for what you guys do for the ecosystem too. So this was great. Appreciate the time.
No, yeah, you're the man. Thank you everyone for listening. Thanks everyone for watching. This is the Good Price Show. We're out.